Hello guys, welcome to my video series tutorial to talk about Microsoft Semantic Kernel. In our last video, we talked about how to implement the new way of function calling using auto function calling we implemented. In this video, I'm going to focus on the next function calling. It's a completely new function calling introduced in Microsoft Semantic Kernel, required function. The required behavior makes sure the AI uses specific tool or functions to get information rather than guessing or using what it already knows. This is useful when you want the AI to get the most accurate and up-to-date information. It's a simple required function calling. You have to force to the AI model to call the function. Whenever you need this type of scenario, you can use the required function calling concept. So let's move on to Visual Studio. We write one simple example how to implement this required function calling concept. Let's move on to Visual Studio. In Visual Studio, I have created a new project called required function calling, and I added the plugin called external weather plugin. So the external weather plugin to get the weather information based on the city. This weather plugin I added to the here my kernel. The next step, I'm going to add the function charge behavior is a required. And one more, you have to be careful on this one. In the required, you have to pass the function, but still it's a nullable arguments. The best practice, you add the function, which function should call, so that AI model should always call that particular function. So here I'm going to get the function information, kernel function. This is a weather kernel function, to kernel dot plugin dot get function. Function plugin name is the external weather plugin, and the function name we get from the plugin. So go to the external weather plugin, the function called get weather async. So we pass it to here. Once it's done, we have to pass the weather kernel function to the required function arguments. So here, new of list of kernel function, we have to pass the kernel function. Our kernel function is weather kernel function. That's it. So I put the breakpoint line number 35, and one more breakpoint I add to in the response body, the external weather plugin. So here you noticed in my prompt I send only for provide the history of Chennai. I did not specify I need any weather information, something like that. I set only function calling behavior required, and I specified which function should call. That's it. So now the AI model, regardless of your prompt, this function get executed. So we run this application and we see the output. So started, hello world, provide the history of Chennai. External weather plugin, city name Chennai passed, and we get the response, some information about the weather in Chennai. We get some results. Here we can see the output of the AI model. The final output, we get the history of Chennai information, not weather information. But AI model forcefully called the weather external API function to get the weather information, but the output is not added to the final output because user send the prompt only provide the history of Chennai. That's it. They didn't ask about the weather information. If you want to forcefully send the weather information also to the user, what you have to do while sending the prompt, you have to add your prompt also to the user prompt. I just stop the application and I add the weather information also to the prompt. For that, I add to the one more class called the prompt render filter. In the prompt render filter, the render prompt, I include this weather information also. So whatever user send the information, I add my render prompt also. You have to add the weather information also, something like that. So here context dot render prompt equal to like include weather information also based on the city. That's it. This render prompt I added to my kernel object here. You can see the builder service, add a singleton, prompt render filter I added. This time we run the application again and we get the weather information also. Here you can see provide the history of Chennai, include weather information also based on the city. We get response weather information. We continue to run the application and we get the final result and we see the weather information this time. Finally, we see the weather information also. So the first part contains the history of Chennai, second part contains the weather information of the Chennai. So this is a simple example how to use the required function calling in Microsoft Semantic Kernel.